Hey there, this is episode 83 of the first 10 minutes. I'm Tony Parmenter.
I'm Steve Halliwell.
And I'm Aaron Williams.
And this is a video games podcast where we play the first 10 minutes of a video game. Then we sit down here to discuss how well that game communicates itself to the player, both in terms of what the game is about and how to play the game. And in response to our latest Twitter poll, which you can find at the first 10 minutes on Twitter, you, the listeners, voted for us to play Factorio. Steve, you played Factorio. How did it go?
I did. I played 10 minutes of it.
Convenient.
Right, so,
Played by the rules.
Wikipedia says, Factorio is an upcoming real-time strategy video game in development by Wube Software. The completed version is scheduled to be released in 2017 for Windows, Linux, and Mac OS.
How is it you are engaging with this magic piece of software?
I'm a time traveler. Oh no,
Steve, do you have a really weird cached version of the internet? Like what?
Yeah.
How did this happen?
I believe Factorio is still technically in early access.
Right.
I will double check as of recording if that is still the case. I believe it is.
If there's one thing our listeners enjoy, it's factual correctness.
It is.
Yes.
It is technically still in early access.
Oh, I see.
There we go.
Alrighty, so Steam tags.
Let's hit it.
Early access, base building, resource management, sandbox, strategy, crafting, survival, multiplayer, open world, management, simulation, single player, moddable, indie, trains, co-op, sci-fi, aliens, tower defense, casual.
Where's great soundtrack?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Where's the great soundtrack? Is it a bad soundtrack?
It's not a great soundtrack game, but
is there a bad soundtrack tag?
I doubt it. I don't think it allows negative
tags. Yeah.
I see.
I do appreciate that it is a crafting, survival, strategy, sandbox, casual game, though.
Nice.
That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of things to unpack.
For filthy casuals exclusively.
It's upper lower mid core, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I had not played Factorio previously. I had seen footage of Factorio, and I knew it was a thing that I would want to mess around with.
Based on
but I had no idea what. Well, based upon the videos that exist online of Factorio are of ridiculously complex machines transporting goods around what look like a giant factory floor to build rockets that fly into space.
So it's almost an Amazon simulator.
Sure.
I meant Amazon, like the goods
automated
distribution company.
Not the place. Yeah.
Yes.
Correct.
So I knew that as a thing that I wanted to mess around with just to see how it worked.
Right.
Even if it wasn't a thing that then grabbed my attention. So I had no idea how I played it. So it does have a tutorial of sorts. It doesn't call it the tutorial, but on the main menu, when you hit play, there is the top button is Start Campaign, which then gives you essentially like 4 levels to choose from.
Right.
And so I started with the first one, but these are the tutorial.
Okay.
So this loads me into what I assume is a much smaller than normal map. And the way that it explains how to play to me is it does a full screen overlay that grays out the game screen and puts an orange box with an arrow on it pointing to something on the screen.
Okay.
So it'll be like, you are here, and point to where I am on screen. Or these orange boxes are going to tell you what to do. Or this box in this corner will always tell you your next objective. But so what the game looks like is it's 2D, top down, but at a slight angle, so like a JRPG or like a Pokemon kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm playing it at 1440p, so they're tiny. I don't know if it scales with resolution, but the UI is tiny. Which, if you've looked at the footage, you will understand what I mean. So my character, I don't know if I can zoom in or out. It doesn't explain that to me, and I don't try. But my character, by default, is taking up 1/25th of the screen, maybe less.
That's 4%.
It is. And as I move my cursor around the screen, it sort of highlights the tile under my cursor in like a yellow grid select box. and I can see that as I move my cursor around, it's changing a context-sensitive box in the top right. So as I hover over what look like mounds of resources in like a Command and Conquer sense of like, that must be ore. Like as I hover over it, this box appears and says, this is stone, and it has this much here, and things like that. Like, this is a wreck of your spaceship. So I basically get some on-screen text that tells me the premise, which is my spaceship has crashed here. I better scout around and not be here.
Okay.
Fair enough. So I don't really want to go through blow by blow of what I did. We'll kind of dig into a bit in particular that I think is interesting.
We should take a vote on that, Steve, because you're just one of three voices here. I can tell by Aaron's face that he wants a blow by blow description.
There's a video you can watch that'll give you a far more in depth blow by blow than I will.
Sure.
I also think your powers of facial reading may need a little bit of work.
I've been wanting to say, paint me a word fractal, Steve.
Okay. Ooh. All right. So some top level stuff before I talk about the things that I think give us an overview of what this game's about that we can then sort of ask questions from and talk about whatever takes our fancy. So I missed some things in this tutorial because of the way that it explains things. These box overlays, they all end in tab angle brackets, indicating that should be how you like cancel them or confirm that you've read them.
Right.
But I managed to skip some of them without meaning to, I think, by clicking left mouse button. Like, as they had appeared, I had clicked. Which means go, yep, you've read that, gone. So I missed two things very early on that I have no idea what they said.
Super important to playing the game.
And I didn't skip back through my video frame by frame to try and read them, but they're gone in matters of frames. Like, it's too late for me to do anything about it. The things that stuck out to me from my notes that I wrote after I'd finished is that I definitely got stuck on how the hell do I deselect things numerous times. And the other thing that I noted is that the time went by really fast. Like sometimes when we're playing our 10 minutes, I don't know about for you guys, but sometimes I get to 5 minutes in, I'm like, whoo, all right, I can do 5 more minutes.
You know it's a tough one when you have to look at the clock.
Whereas these 10 minutes by went really quickly, even though if you watch my video back, it's excruciating because I do not know what I'm doing. And you're like, seriously, why are you building another furnace? But that will make sense soon.
It's a question we've all asked ourselves at one point or another.
Yeah. What's the point?
Oh, that happened to me last weekend.
Yep.
Why all the furnaces?
Yep. I just didn't know what to do with myself. So this is a game about mining and about building factories. So the tutorial is telling me that I need to mine ore. I already have a pickaxe. I can waz my little character around, and my cursor will change colors when I'm in range of something to mine it.
So you have direct control over one avatar?
Yes.
Okay.
But I can hover over anything on screen and get information about it, but I have to be near it to interact with it.
Okay.
It seems like it's like 2 or 3 squares to be able to interact with it. So it asked me to mine after it's shown me some basic UI elements. Like, this is what a box is. This is where your objectives go. Mm-hmm. This is the premise of the story. This is what we're going to do now. It says, go mine this by walking up to it and holding the mouse down on it. So I do that. And as you hit, you sort of get a text float up from it that will say like +1, whatever that thing is. In this case, it was ore. And then after that, brackets another number. I don't believe it explained to me what the other number is, but I managed to deduce that other number is how much of that item you currently have. Okay. So that will go up to whatever your current is. The first time I looked at it, I thought, does this mean I've mined 1 ore but gained 4 ore somehow? But no, I figured out later
you gained the worth of 4 ore.
You gained 1 ore. 4 ore. Yeah, that's worth 4 somehow. I don't know. But it seems to be my current count. So I mined 5 of those, and it says, cool, now build a furnace. I'm like,
build another one if you feel like it.
So it tells me to press E, I believe it was, to open my inventory, and that also has recipes, it calls them, already there. And these are all grayed out or redded out. These are tiny boxes, about the same size as my character was in the middle of my screen. And as I hover over them, it tells me what ingredients I need to build them. So it tells me that to build a stone furnace, I need 5 stone, which is super convenient because I just mined 5 ore, not 5 stone. So I figured that out. So I clicked on the buttons. It's like, these seem grayed out. There's text in red. This seems like an error, but you just told me to mine 5 of this thing, so surely that's the right thing. No. So I close this menu and I mine 5 stone. Then I come back in here, and now I can build my stone furnace. So these things that I'm building also have a time to construct on them. So they have, this is how many resources it takes, and this is how long it will take to build it. So I think this one was like 1.2 seconds or something. But it's really
Holy
weird.
shit.
Yeah.
It's a fast furnace.
That's me constructing a stone furnace in my hands.
Took me all
1.2
day
seconds.
to make my furnace.
Whoa.
Yep. So I do that, but there's no, that I could see, there's nothing on screen that tells me this is in progress. Like you click it, it confirms it, it takes your resources, and then there's nothing on screen that tells you like this thing is building. There's no like radial spinner. There's no progress bar.
Right.
Your resources are just gone, but you don't have a furnace yet.
It's a good thing
And
it's
then-
only 1.2 seconds then.
Yeah.
And then in this case, 1.2 seconds later, my cursor changes to a furnace. So like an RTS style building system, right? Like it's green if you could place it there on the ground, or it's orange or red if you can't. So I'm moving it around the environment like as a ghost building.
Right, so
I
you
click somewhere to put it down.
So you've
Yep.
built it, but you haven't placed it.
Yes, so it is constructed, and I'm now holding it, and I'm choosing where to put it. So I'm assuming that this is similar to most crafting games, is that you've built the thing and now you're going to put it somewhere.
Sure.
So that's fine. I can buy into this. This also makes sense when it shows me more complex stuff later. Like
Okay.
you want to just build a bunch of stuff and then run to where you need to go and dump all of it.
Sure.
But so I place a stone furnace.
Yep.
So I walk over to it, and I accidentally mine the furnace. Which, because a little progress bar appeared under it, like nothing popped up when I walked next to it. So I mouse wand it, and a little progress bar popped up under it, and it disappeared. And I got a tutorial box that says, "Oops, it looks like you mined your furnace." And I was like, "Oh, great." And so I didn't realize this at the time. So I then went and mined more stone so I
Where's
could
the
build
furnace?
another one. Furnace was gone. I'd mined it. I assumed that it destroyed it or like deconstructed it, but it didn't because I didn't have any stone. I couldn't build another one. So I mined more stone and I built another one. Again, clicking on it, resources are gone. Wait 1.2 seconds, but nothing happens. At least nothing that I notice. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll try that again. So I mine 5 more stone, and I click the build furnace button again. Again, it takes my stone, and I don't notice anything happen.
You have so many furnaces.
And at this point, I like, man, did I break the tutorial? Did the tutorial call out, hey, you've mined the furnace and that's bad, but not do anything, like not fix it? I wasn't sure. So I stopped for a second before I was going to build my fourth furnace.
It's like Factorio is not for you.
Yeah, this is the test. You thought it was a tutorial. No. Competency test.
Exam.
Steve,
my friend.
I'm not normally in the prediction game, but I'm going to make a prediction.
Yes.
Did Clippy show up on screen?
Oh, that would have been
That's
great.
what I was thinking too. Yeah.
So,
Can I help you with this?
looks like you're trying to build a furnace.
It looks like you're trying to build 3.
So I started mining more stone again, and I'm like, this
Classic Steve.
can't be this. It can't be busted. It can't be this. Surely this game has been in early access. It's still in early access, sure, but it's been out for a while. Surely someone would have seen this a long time ago. It can't be busted. And this is when, watching my replay, this was obvious immediately. But this is the point where me playing it realized that in the bottom toolbar,
Yep.
there's a furnace, This is a tiny icon, the same size as my character, 1/25th of the screen approximately. It's the furnace icon.
Okay.
It now has the number 3 next to it. And so
whoa. Your furnace has leveled up twice and you're still level 1?
Yeah. So
or is it furnace cubed?
No. See, at first I thought this was... Because I saw it pop up there when I got the first one, or I thought it popped up there when I did the first one. And I thought it was showing me was like, oh, it's hotkey 1 for furnace.
Sure.
And I was like, that seems unnecessary. Why would I need furnaces that much to have a hotkey for them? But at this point, I noticed there's a 3 there now. So I'm like, oh, I've just built 3 furnaces for no reason. So I click it. This changes my icon to the furnace, so I can put it back down.
Did you place 3 of them next to each other and they all disappeared?
No.
And you got points?
I just placed one. And so, yay, I have a furnace now, and 2 spares, just in case.
Congrats!
How long did this take, incidentally?
Probably wasted about 2 minutes.
Oh, boy.
Building spare ferni. So...
That sounds like a Swedish house mafia song.
Your place is, I can see you advertising this, Steve, well-furnished apartment.
Yeah.
Fully furnished. Yeah. Fully furnished. I like it.
You will not be wanting for furnace. All right, so this is the first time I can't figure out how to deselect something.
Right.
Because I have multiple ferni, the cursor is still offering me to place more furnaces.
Where do you want the next one?
So I hit escape, and that just brings up the pause menu. I'm like, crap. So I close that, and I notice that where the furnace icon was in my hotbar is now a hand. So I click that, and it goes back to the normal cursor. I'm like, phew, okay. All right, good. So now it tells me that you need to put fuel in the furnace, and you need to put ore in the furnace, and then the furnace will make iron plates.
Can you fuel the furnace with another furnace?
Oh, that would have been great.
So you set to giving it fuel, giving it fire, giving it that which it desires?
Yes, pretty much. So you walk up to the furnace, you press E, it brings up a different dialog box, like a different inventory style box, which shows you the furnace having a spot for you to dump materials and a spot for you to dump fuel. So I dump iron ore in this spot for materials. It tells me it needs fuel. It tells me to go mine some wood from nearby. So I run over to a tree and I hit that. I get some wood. I run back over to the furnace. I put the wood where the fuel's meant to go, and it turns on. A little sprite of flames appears in the bottom of it, and it starts playing like a bustling fire sound effect. And
nice.
A progress bar starts running of ore converting to iron plates, like inside of its little UI panel.
Okay.
And there's a large red bar of fuel that's slowly ticking down. So it does that. It builds some plates, which is what it told me to do. After it builds some iron plates, it's quite happy. And I get another little text toast, like a MMO chat of presumably my character talking to himself going, there's got to be a better way to do this or something to that equivalent. And it wants me to build a drill.
There's got to be a better way than building 3 furnaces.
Yes.
Nice.
So it wants me to build a drill so that the drill can then mine the ore for me instead of me walking around pickaxing it. So it's like an automated drill, like a tripod with a giant drill under it that just does it.
Okay.
Okay. So it adds those recipes to my inventory. So I look at that. I hover over it. It tells me what it needs. It needs cogs. Like, okay, where are they? They're somewhere else in that little recipes panel. I see cogs, and it says that they need iron plates. So I build some cogs, I run out of iron plates, I go back to the furnace, I pick up more iron plates out of the furnace, I put more ore into the furnace so it can make me my more iron plates. I have my 2 cogs, I try to make my drill, I can't build my drill, I need iron plates and cogs, but I don't have any more iron plates. So I put more ore in the mill, get more iron plates out. Now I have 2 cogs and some iron plates, now I can build my drill. So I build my drill, I place it on the ore, it requires fuel, I give it fuel, it's now automatically drilling for ore using the fuel that I gave it. So now, excuse me. So now the problem then becomes that I need more things, right? The drill needs fuel. I put fuel in the drill. So now I have a drill that requires cogs, that requires plates, that I made by making a furnace which required ore and wood and plates to mine more wood, to get more ore so I can make more plates.
Of course.
Obvious.
Yep.
And now with my drill, that's more efficient, but I have more things that I need to fuel now.
Yep.
So that I can get more cogs, so I can make more plates, presumably to make more drills.
Steve, is this game a metaphor?
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, this feels very, very nursery rhymey to me.
Yes, there was a crooked man.
Yeah.
So
In
then
a
I get told...
dark house, there were 3 furnaces.
Yes. So my drill can only hold so much. So all these things have like in and out spots where they can hold items and where you can move items to your inventory on your character.
Right.
So the drill is building up ore, but presumably it looks like it would fill up relatively quickly, so that they would stop working. So it instructs me then that there's got to be a way to gather these things. So it gets me to build a wooden crate. So I get more wood, so I can construct a crate, so I can put that crate next to the drill on the spot that it shows me where the drill spits out ore. There's only one spot that it does it.
Right.
So I put the crate there, and then that's good, because now it can drill things and put them in that crate, and that crate can hold more things than the drill could hold. So now I'd have to check it less often. And at this point, watching my footage back, I go, holy shit, this game is a clicker.
Yep.
I have the most elaborate mechanism of making my amount of ore plates go up that could possibly be conceived, is what my goal seems to be. And so with that done, I get a rather comically timed another toast-style prompt from presumably my character saying something to the equivalent of, gee, I better explore around this strange environment a bit more. So I'm like, okay, now it's going to teach me how to explore the map.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I just start walking off to the top left, and then it goes, level complete. Like, oh, not time to explore this strange land then.
No,
So
you are done.
Yeah, that is enough. So I go, all right, next...
To the menu mobile.
So I go, okay, next level? That's great. So the next level is immediately scary because there's a bunch of machinery already here. So this next level has robot arms already in there. It has conveyor belts. It has multiple furnaces and multiple drills on multiple ore pits. And it looks like there's part of a destroyed railway line leading off to the right of the screen. It's not overwhelming, but it's a jump up from my surplus of ferni and a wooden crate.
For sure.
What it wants to teach me here is that robot arms can pick things up and move them from one side to the other. So it gives me a little tutorial box that shows like a drill, a robot arm, and a box. So it could move things from the drill to the box. And it shows me like a drill, an arm, and a conveyor belt. So it can move things from one side, so on and so on and so on. It shows me a bunch of combinations of why you might, or where you might want to put one to move things from one side to another.
Cool.
I'm like, that's fine. They need fuel. So I put fuel in one, and now it starts moving things. And that means that the thing that was currently full is no longer full. So it can start producing more stuff, and the robot arm will move things from one side to the other onto this conveyor belt. The next thing it wants to do is teach me that objects can be rotated. It teaches me this by showing me a robot arm that's currently facing the wrong way. So there's a robot arm that's currently configured to take things out of the input of a furnace and put them on a conveyor belt, which is the opposite to what it wants.
Right.
So it makes me pick it up, press R twice to rotate it 180, and put it back down. So now this arm is picking things up off a conveyor belt and putting them in this furnace.
Okay.
Great. Then shortly after that, it makes me go to an ammo crate box to pick up a gun, an ammo, spare conveyor belts, and something else I don't even remember what it was. It's now telling me about weapons.
Yep.
It's telling me that there are specific slots on my character where weapons have to go. So I have to open my inventory and drag a gun from my inventory into my gun slot in the bottom right, and also drag a magazine of ammo from my inventory to my ammo magazine slot in my
Can you
character.
equip the robot arms as weapons?
No, it did not seem so.
Sorry, have we jumped ahead? Why do you need weapons?
I honestly don't recall, and I didn't make a note of it in my notes, if it said, "Oh no, there are bad things here. We better get the guns," or if it was just like, "We should check for supplies in that crate. Oh look, a gun." But it tells me to do that, and after I've put these things in the slots, it gives me the, "Oh no, the aliens are attacking," and it tells me that the space bar, is the fire button, which I think is odd, but what? Hey, sure.
Press spacebar to scream inaudibly.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
can I just? Were you aware? Had the game made you aware in any way of imminent alien threat up until this point, or is this where it's sort of introduced that concept?
if it did, it would have been in the same manner that it had told me that you could press R to rotate a robot arm.
Okay.
So it had not hit home that we are strangers in a dangerous land and there are aliens that want us dead.
Okay.
Sure.
So
these aliens hate progress. Is what I'm gathering here. So
I don't really learn this in my 10 minutes, but as I understand it, yes, they do. They have,
okay.
Yeah. Two purpley looking alien blurs run down from the top of the screen. I hold spacebar and vaguely point my mouse cursor at them, and they die. I don't know if they have loot or not, because I don't get instructed to go and look at them. And I believe it is. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just thinking that you're probably pleased you didn't get Zerg rushed in the previous level, because 3 furnaces is not a good opening build.
No, that's not a good opening gambit. Yeah.
Right.
Like, there's rushing Vespene gas, and then there's excessive Vespene gas. So at this point, I believe, in my notes, this is where it is. It may have been earlier. But I then get stuck for probably about 20 seconds in the conveyor tool.
Okay.
Because I'd picked up conveyors earlier, and I click those in my inventory without really meaning to. And now my cursor is a conveyor belt layer, and I can figure out how to lay conveyor belt and how to remove conveyor belt. But I still can't figure out how to go back to the regular cursor. Because it's not in my quick select. So I can't, there's no hand in the bottom of the screen to click on.
I mean, at the risk of stating the obvious, did you try right-clicking?
I believe I did.
Okay.
Rewatching my footage, I can't tell how I fixed it, but I did. But I laid and unlaid conveyor multiple times before I figured it out.
Excellent.
And that is my 10 minutes.
Whew.
Okay.
Yes.
I've got one.
I mean, yeah, go, Aaron.
Go.
What's this game about?
Oh, were you trying to skip to the 10-minute check already?
Check. What's the game about? How do you play? It's keyboard and mouse and a factories or something?
What?
Sure. Okay, let me rephrase. What are you meant to do in this game?
Okay, so what it's hinted to me is that you get resources and you build them into more complex resources by presumably, given what I've just seen in this tutorial, by trying to build more increasingly complex, partially automated systems to increase the complexity of my resources.
Is there a purpose that you're working towards?
Well, I mean, I crash landed on this planet, so presumably my purpose is to fix my ship or build a new one.
With the surprise conclusion being that you're just so satisfied with the factory that you just decide to just continue creating materials.
Yeah. It does strike me as an odd setup that I start with a pickaxe and these highly advanced automated furnaces.
Yeah.
Like, it feels weird in a survival game sense of I'm not punching a tree. There is no tree punching. It's straight to robot arm automatically moves things around for you.
Yep.
Which is cool. I think that's probably more interesting to me than punching trees for twigs. But it does feel odd in terms of the overarching story, if there was one. As I understand it, from my existing knowledge of this game outside of my 10 minutes, you're trying to build a rocket ship so that you can fly off the planet.
Okay. Steve, I've constructed an arbitrary spectrum for myself. On the spectrum of Big Pharma to RimWorld, where does this game sit? If you feel that fits.
I think it's far closer to Big Pharma than RimWorld. This doesn't. There's as I understand it, there's going to be no other characters. It's just going to be me.
And you have direct control.
And I have direct control of me, my little dude or dudette or whatever it is, does exactly as I say, and nothing more, nothing less. Okay,
so I'll construct another arbitrary spectrum. Big Pharma or Space Chem?
I don't think I've played those two enough to have a good distinction between them.
Right.
Like this game gives me
I'll rephrase it. Are you building assembly lines or are you solving puzzles?
I'm building assembly lines.
Okay.
In the sense that what I understand is going to happen when I get out of these tutorials is going to give me randomly generated levels.
Okay.
And I am then going to build a cool factory with the goal of building my rocket ship to get off the planet.
So are you trying to optimize construction or are you trying to kind of brute force manufacture?
See, this is a really interesting area because this game feels a lot like playing SimCity or Cities Skylines.
Right.
Where it's like the stats that I would expect to see in SimCity or Cities, or even Tropico for that matter, are far less overt here. Because my stats are, from what I can gather from my 10 minutes, my stats are going to be how many of the most complex resources that I currently need to build the next step along my technology tree do I have, and how quickly am I getting those. That's my measure of success. But that
you're
being
not really...
Sorry, go ahead.
You're not really relying on or having to wrangle with kind of allied agents in the world. Like you don't have citizens, you don't have...
No, I appear to be the only human, air quotes.
Right.
But as I understand it, these aliens are the antagonistic force.
Okay.
They have, outside of my 10 minutes and from previous footage I'd seen of the game, they have nests around the environment.
Okay.
And so that will sort of push you to not construct in certain areas. And the larger your factory or your environmental impact, if you would, gets, the more irate these aliens become.
Okay.
The more aggressive
do they seek to damage you or your factory, or both?
I'm unclear from my 10 minutes, but I believe it's both.
Okay. So how much of this do you think is... Because you mentioned in the first tutorial level at a certain point, it was like, I've done enough, now it's time to go exploring. How prevalent do you think exploring is going to be to this experience?
These tutorial levels seem like they're arbitrarily small, so I learn how certain mechanics work and how systems fit together.
Yep.
But from the look of the game and the scale that it starts me at, like this is meant to be a very, very large map that I still don't get to see very much of, even when I'm zoomed out as far as I can go. Like the camera perspective and the default zoom that it gives me leads me to believe that I need to be able to see giant sprawling sections of a factory at once to understand how my production flow is going. That my character takes up a tiny fraction of what's actually there.
Right. And
there is still a mini map. This isn't a fixed screen. The world is bigger than what's on my viewport. And I believe that this will have a similar... Well, it looks like it's going to have a similar flow that you would expect from an RTS, where you get your base up and running, and then it's time to start scouting for better resources or unique areas that give you like higher value resources. So I found ore and stone and wood. I imagine that there are many other kinds of resources I need for different things that I'll eventually have to smash together to build more complex things.
Sure.
So the part that I keep turning over in my head is that you are an agent, like you're embodied in the world as an agent, but you're building a giant assembly line, which means extrapolating on how I assume this game plays in the long term. Your ability to accomplish things is entirely based on where on this enormous map you're located. So presumably if you build a giant thing a giant Rube Goldberg machine to make things happen, and one part of it falls over, you're going to have to potentially rush all the way back there to do something about it. I'm trying to figure out in my head, has the game given you any indication as to how much automation versus how much sort of agent oversight you need to succeed at this thing?
So far, I'm unclear of how urgent anything is going to be. If something does go wrong, if that'll be a matter of, like, that's what I mean by, holy shit, this might be a clicker.
Right.
Is that realizing that part of your factory isn't running as optimally as it could is merely a factor of, and therefore, at your current rate of growth, you will never build your rocket.
Okay.
Right.
That's more what it feels like right now. Like, you'll get your thing running the way you can, and then you'll realize that the next thing you need requires so many resources that you need to make this factory much, much larger or much more efficient.
And then you would run into the issue of, and now you've antagonized the locals.
Yep. And now you've used up a large portion of the map in maybe a way that is inefficient that you then need to redevelop. That slows you down. That's what I'm getting this a sense for. Is it's about you probably re-engineering parts of your factory over and over again and repurposing them for more complex materials as required.
Yeah. I think the reason that this is stuck in my head is it feels a bit weird to me to imagine myself going, ugh, now I got to run 4 suburbs to the west again to go and fix that thing that fell over.
Yeah.
I'm
pulling all this out of my ass. I have no idea how the fuck this game works.
It's not giving me the sense that there's going to be, to keep my SimCity terminology, it doesn't give me a sense that there will be random disasters.
Okay.
It doesn't seem right now like it's going to go, oh no, this thing's not working anymore. It seems like it's going to be far more you looking at your factory going, this could be better.
Okay. So, specific question in relation to these alien things that attacked you in the tutorial.
Okay.
Did it say, uh-oh, here they come? Or did it say, you have built a blah, notice here in the UI that you have exceeded blah,
no,
therefore aliens are attacking?
The first.
Okay.
It's like, oh no, the aliens. And then I ran over there and pressed space and they died.
Right, okay.
And then it was back to looking at something else and not knowing how to cancel a conveyor belt tool. In this tutorial, they seemed of little consequence. They seemed like little more than, we want you to know how to use the gun, and the only thing the gun is for is shooting aliens, so here are exactly 2 of them.
Yep.
All right.
It didn't give me a sense of how dangerous is 1 alien. Does it? Like, do I need there to be 100 before I'm concerned? Do I want to kill them? Do they have super awesome resources that I need?
Right.
Or are they only an annoyance? It didn't give me a good sense of that.
Okay. Aaron, if you got something, feel free to jump in, because I'm just sort of barreling along here.
Yeah, cool. I do have one thing very quickly. Sorry, I just need to cough. Excuse me.
Nice one.
Thank you. So, I haven't played this game. I watched some videos of it. I've watched it being played at a much higher level than what you achieved in your first 10 minutes. And for me, what I can sort of glean as a large part of the appeal of this game is the aesthetic satisfaction that comes from watching a large system work uniformly. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Did you get any sort of a feeling towards that degree of satisfaction in your 10 minutes?
Not really. So, I mean, if you Google for videos of Factorio, what you'll find is people building giant machines that are not even necessarily very good at playing Factorio. They just look really cool to operate, right? And they have a rhythmic nature to them because everything in the game runs on this fixed, like, tick rate.
Yeah.
It's like things don't speed up and slow down based on how much fuel they have. They're either running or not.
Yep.
And they're all running at the same rate. So, I mean, I get a sort of a glimpse of what that might be like because this second tutorial does have a small conveyor belt and it has arms that are just moving backwards and forwards, like on a beat.
Right.
But there's nothing I've seen so far that would give me the indication of at some point this will fill the entire screen. And it'll just be like this giant robotic drum set just playing, and it'll be up to me to keep it running. I don't really get a sense of that.
Do you think that's at all a problem, or do you think that what you received in your 10 minutes was sort of crucial information that could lead up to that?
So I think the inkling it gives me that I think is probably enough to let me know that this is a thing that you want to keep pursuing or it isn't, is showing me that little preview of like, here's 6 things that you use robot arms for.
Sure.
Right.
Because even though in that tutorial in the moment, none of those seemed crucial, right? Because at the scale that I'm currently operating at, I can do all of those things myself and not really feel worried about it. But in terms of it saying, well, look, here's this big clockwork system, and here's how this particular cog can be used in this system in all these different ways, with the understanding going in of like, and this is a survival crafting game, so you're eventually going to smash these two, whatever the 2 most complex things you have now, eventually you'll need 10 of them to make one of whatever the next level thing is.
Yep.
Like with that understanding of that's how a crafting game tends to work, you can see that, well, while I can right now stock all the fuel, empty all the drills, move them all to the smelting pits or whatever, the furnaces, you can see that, but if I don't want to run around or if I want to get that goal faster, I can see where these robot arms are things that start making that job easier.
Sure.
Or that allow me to go, this part of the factory is not great because I've made it with robot arms and I'm not very good at that yet, but it means that I can go explore the rest of the map and find out what else is going on. When I come back, there'll be tons of iron plates or whatever it is that I need waiting for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I can't remember your exact wording at the beginning of the recording, Steve, but you indicated that this was a game that you were curious in checking out to see whether it scratched your itch, as it were. What was that itch, and did it scratch it?
This 10 minutes has not. I think given the current rate of me learning how to play it, that's going to take an hour or 2 before I can see if it's a thing that I'd want to spend even more time in.
Okay.
And for me, I think the thing that draws me to it is the clockwork systems nature of it. The same thing that got me really excited about the new SimCity, that then ultimately I don't think was as interesting as I wanted it to be, but that everything was driven on the same system. That all of the way that all the things link together, and kind of that the gameplay is kind of this non-specific optimization problem.
Right.
Whereas I've forgotten what your example games were.
Big Pharma.
And the other one was, I've forgotten it. But so those games have sort of the 2 varieties that you're talking about, where it's like, can you just optimize this system to be better so you can increase your revenues?
Yeah.
Versus...
Well,
Go ahead.
The other one was RimWorld, and I can elaborate on the 2 very different types of satisfaction I get out of them, because one of them is build an efficient system to reach arbitrary but meaningful thresholds, and the other one is let's see what crazy weird story tumbles out of all these systems rubbing together.
Yeah, it's definitely not giving me RimWorld vibes in that sense. But it's not as specific in the goals that it wants me to reach in the way that something like Infinifactory does. Yeah. Or like even more obviously something like Talos Principle, which isn't about resource gathering, but it is about, look, there's a way for this to all fit together. Yep. You just need to figure it out. Yep. Whereas this is more free form. It's like, well, your ultimate goal is infinite production, but how you get there is up to you. So like exploring the connectedness of the systems is what you're doing for your gameplay and for your enjoyment of it, rather than, look, there's a puzzle here to be solved and here's one possible solution to it. So
optional optimization of jazz.
Sure. Yeah, and I think it's a thing that I think a lot of people enjoy about city builders. Yeah, it's like there's a way for you to clearly see that you're making this a more efficient thing than it was. But at the same time, people can play city builders and just go, I'm just going to try and recreate this city. that
Yeah.
I live in or that I've seen, or that I want to make a city based around concentric circles just to see if it can work, or because I like the way it looks.
Well, I think you kind of touched on that kind of vibe when you were saying that you can find videos on YouTube of this game where people have constructed things that are impressive to view, rather than very effective. So yeah. You seem to be awfully small on the screen.
Yes, very much so.
Very observant of me.
So.
Yeah.
Yes.
How much of your the issue that you had with not noticing game notifications was due to your res?
Well, when I watched back the video for my multiple fern eye problem, there's no flash, like there's not a frame drawing your attention to this thing being different than it was last frame. Okay. It just is different. And especially on that number changing, that number is like, it's a pixel font. So it's probably 8 pixels tall out of 1440.
Right.
And so that changing from a 1 to a 2 to a 3 went mostly unnoticed by me.
Yeah.
But if we were to look at a Command and Conquer or a World Warcraft, or even an MMO or Diablo or something, when a button changes state or is able to be pressed again, it probably pulses, it probably flashes.
Goes from being opaque to solid fill.
Yeah.
You'll have a sound cue associated with it,
sure.
etc. Yeah.
And this is early access, so maybe all those things are still scheduled and just not done
yet.
yet.
Yeah, of course.
This is late stage optimization stuff, definitely.
But it's all of those things that I think caused most of my headaches early on there.
Cool. Trying to imagine playing this in my head based off of footage that I've seen, admittedly several months ago. I find it really appealing to think of, if I played this game for a dozen hours or what have you, that you'd be able to look at a scene of ridiculous complexity and somehow manage to scry out of all of this crazy bedlam. Oh, there's the problem in this location. Yeah. This thing here needs to change to this other thing, and I find that concept of being able to interpret all of this incomprehensible stuff at the beginning, and then somehow your brain just magically turns that into, this is the thing in this spot in this way. Yeah. That very much pushes my buttons in a good way. That's why I ended up playing a ridiculous number of hours of Big Pharma. Yeah.
So, I mean, in terms of, I mentioned at the beginning that this 10 minutes goes fast, and even with me futzing around trying to figure out how to change states of cursors and not build a million furnaces, because I'm building this like ever escalating sort of production machine. Yeah. The time for me to complete my goal and see the next one is like 3 to 5 seconds. Right? It's like, work over here, get more ore, run over there, drop it off, click on this thing. Has it got more plates? Yes, it does. I better grab those. How many more do I need? I need 2 more. Okay, I'll get some more ore and I'll put it in this thing. Like, my second to second loop is so tight, and I'm having, at this point in the game, what feels like really meaningful outputs. It's like, well, I needed to build a drill, and that feels like a monumental effort at this point in the game. Yeah. And I did these small 7 things all relatively quickly, and then I got my drill. And now I won't have to do those 7 things again. Now I only have to do these 4 things, because the drill will do some of those for me now. Yep.
So seeing as you said, sorry, Steve, go on.
I was just going to say that loop of figuring out all these little steps and then being told, and now you're so good at that, don't worry about step 4 and 5 anymore. Okay. We've got those for you. Yep. That's a really satisfying loop to be in.
Seeing as you brought up clickers,
yep.
Do you get the feeling that this thing escalates exponentially or not?
To split hairs, I think it escalates geometrically.
Okay. Go on.
So yes.
All aboard for Rhombus Town. Like what? What do you mean geometrically?
As in, it's a geometric progression, because I get the sense that I'm going to build 10 plates that will turn into one sheet.
Right.
And I will then need 10 sheets that will turn into one block, and then I'll need 10 blocks that will turn into one cube, and then 10 cubes will turn into one diamond.
I think what I was getting at was, do you thinking about every individual thing as something that has an output and spits out an iron sheet or whatever, as you build more things, is it like, well, now that you have 5 things, that spits out 5 units in the same amount of time you would get 1 from a single thing? Or do you combine things together and that, it's a non-linear thing when you start upgrading or chaining things together?
Yes, it will definitely be non-linear, because you'll have this compounding factor.
Okay.
Of you then I'm imagining I'm going to eventually build machines that go, well, I have an intake of iron plates, and I produce iron cubes or whatever it is.
Right.
So you'll have a conveyor belt that leads from a whole bunch of drills and furnaces, so like maybe 20 of those, that then leads to 3 machines that take plates and convert them into something else. Okay.
And a really specific question, because I have Big Pharma in my head because I played so much of it. Does it matter where your conveyor belts or what have you plug into or out of any given component?
Yes, when it was teaching me how to rotate, it made sure to make a point that you can rotate a building to face any of the 4 directions when you're placing it. Yeah. So everything has essentially like an in and out side. Yeah. And if it doesn't drop its outside on a conveyor belt, then it just sits there.
Right, okay.
And then you build robot arms to move them from there to on the conveyor belt.
Okay.
And conveyor belts have directions. Like the conveyor belt moves a direction. It doesn't, things don't teleport across them. They actually move.
Cool.
Yeah.
Along it.
Yeah, because part of the thing in Big Pharma is that while you may have a couple of different things that are shaped the same number of grid by grid slots, their inputs and outputs are differently arranged. So some of them will turn left, some of them will turn right, some of them will go straight, etc.
I don't have a clear image of whether that will be part of my problem yet.
It wouldn't feel like as much of a meaningful issue, because in Big Pharma you're so space constrained. And in this, you're in a giant.
It doesn't
sort of
seem
landscape,
like I'm space constrained as much in this game. No, so the thing that this game did a really good job of piquing my interest in is it showing me, like, given this second level where it going like, well, here's a bunch of drills and furnaces already with conveyor belts. Is I immediately went, okay, I see that, and eventually I just build even more of these. I just fill the screen with them.
Right.
But then my brain immediately jumps to, all these things need fuel.
Yeah.
Right? And going, if I filled the screen with conveyor belts, robot arms, furnaces, and drills, I wouldn't be able to chop down enough trees and run to all of them in sequence, dropping more firewood in all of them to keep them all running. So it's already got me, like, it's got me hankering for, like, well, what's the upgrade that fixes power? Or coal or whatever it is. Like, do I get...
How do I build solar panels?
Yeah, that's what I want to do, is like, how do I build solar so this is solved? Or wind power or whatever it is.
Geothermal or what have you. Yeah.
Or how do I get uranium, if that's what it's going to do? Like, how do I do better than firewood?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Given the scale of your character on screen, I think maybe asking about do you know who your character is kind of pointless and probably not the focus of this thing.
I mean, I get a little bit of characterization in the way that the character talks to itself.
Okay.
I'm assuming what it's doing in some of those like chat dialogues that pop up for me.
Right.
And the character doesn't seem concerned, especially with the predicament that it's in.
Okay.
It seems cheery, if nothing else.
Yeah.
About crash landed again. All right, let's do it.
Good thing I got my pickaxe.
Good thing I got magic furnaces and infinite robot arms.
Right. Cool.
But that's really all I get. Yep.
I have one very, very quick question before we finish up. Do you think this game has anything to say about A, environmentalism, and B, colonialism?
The only way I could answer that is from going from things I've read or seen outside of 10 minutes.
Sure.
But in that sense, what I understand, the system is that drives the aliens to attack you is you destroying the environment they live in.
Yep.
So that seems like well, to say that that's a statement from the author there might be overstepping, but that's definitely a system that we can read into.
Yeah, for sure. And then I guess that's something for you, the player, from there. That's the idea of the more efficiently you're running your factory, the less space you're taking up, and therefore, presumably, simply speaking, the less of an impact you're having on the environment you're in.
Yeah, I don't know whether that system is driven purely by how much space you take, or whether there's like a pollution factor or whatever it is.
Yep.
But yeah, it seems like there's a dynamic built into the game. There's a push and pull of like the worse you are for the environment, the more flack you're going to cop from the locals.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
I mean, it'd be beyond what you're able to wrangle out of this game in 10 minutes, but now I'm thinking about economies of scale.
Yep.
And I'm thinking about how you leave quite literally a smaller footprint on the map.
Yep.
And I'm curious as to whether this game is something that wants you to downscale but be able to build more in less space.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And that would seem to be potentially in conflict with, look at this insanely sprawling, super complicated piece of clockwork that I've made. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I would be interesting to explore if the way that this game escalates difficulty is by giving you smaller and smaller maps.
Right.
Would be an interesting way of seeing if this does that.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's it.
Cool.
So
10-minute check.
Does it tell me what I'm doing? Like in half of the ways, yes. I think often we get frustrated when games tell us what the buttons are, but not why we care.
Yeah.
This game doesn't appear to do that because I don't know what a bunch of the buttons are. But I do have a sense of what I'm doing and why I might want to do it.
Sure.
Whether that's explicit or whether that's implicit from a bunch of things like we've talked about, like how small my character is versus the things that I'm creating, giving me a sense of like, well, surely there's a reason for this. And that reason, my logical assumption is because these machines need to become gigantic for me to reach my goals. It's early access, so there's stuff still coming, obviously. I wish it was a little better about telling what the buttons are, but maybe those are the things that got skipped by accident.
Sure.
Right.
But at the same time, I wish I couldn't skip those by accident. So yeah, those are minor things that I wish were a little bit smoother in the terms of like, how do I play this video game?
Yeah.
That also could just be that maybe someone who's played other games like this would have better muscle memory for all of the default layouts that I'm just not used to.
Sure.
So yeah, I think it does a pretty good job of what it is that I will want to do with this video game. But a little bit more of what are my buttons would have been great.
Cool. I'm curious to see what crazy things you end up building.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of not what we normally talk about here, but I definitely want to play more than 10 minutes of this game. Even if I just go through the rest of the tutorials, I think that's probably a thing I will do in the very near future, is at least get through those and go, do I want to invest more time? And do I want to wrestle with the quandary of, do I wait until it finishes early access?
Yep.
So I don't play all of it now before whatever the cool stuff that isn't in yet is in. Yeah.
This might be the game that gets you into clickers, Steve.
I mean, I already played a lot of Adventure Capitalist, so I don't think I need to get into clickers.
For any new listeners, I was trolling the shit out of Steve just then. So.
All right, so Plugtown.
Yay, you get to talk more.
Yep. Welcome to
Keep
the Plugs.
going.
This is different, Steve. This is Plug Steve. If you've enjoyed this show and would like to get in contact with us, then you can do so either via email. The email address is contact@thefirst10minutes.com.
Okay.
You can give us any feedback, positive, negative, otherwise. The questions that you have for us, you can send them there. Also,
I'm highly ambivalent, Steve.
Okay, thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
Thanks for your message. Be sure to tell your friends about your ambivalence. Listen to this really meh podcast.
Yeah,
You should see if you are also ambivalent about it.
That'd be a weird.
Well, we are phoning it in quite literally. So it's hooray for remote recording.
Yeah. So you can also find us on many social medias. That is Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, Instagram,
Yay!
YouTube, Twitch, and Patreon. In all those places, we are the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So you can find us there. And
I'm having a lot of fun curating the Instagram pictures.
I am very much enjoying the Instagram posts.
Yeah, they are. They're very clever.
As always, if you've enjoyed it, we'd appreciate a recommend or a rating on iTunes, etc. So it can help grow our listenership. It's the best way to do that. And if you want to get in contact with me, Steve, the easiest way is through my website, which is stevehelliwell.com, or via Twitter, which is @_Steve Helliwell.
If you want to get in touch with me, Tony, on Twitter, I am @Cullinskull. That's KALINSKALD.
And if you'd like to get in touch with me, my personal profile on Twitter is @PoisonTastyFish, spelled how it sounds. Similarly, if you would like to get in touch with me in terms of my critic side, you can find me on Twitter @PushingB or @pushingb.com, where you can access some essays on story and narrative design in video games.
Woo!
Yay!
That brings us to a close. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
And we hope to see you again soon.
Catch you again next time. Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.